19, 20, 21, 26.
Alright. Hey everybody, I know this is sooner than I said. I told everybody it'd probably be Tuesday before I can go another live feed on Mackenzie and what's been going on and stuff. A letter came in the mail today, so I wanted to share that. Like I said, I don't hide nothing from anybody, and I try to share everything with the community because the community is part of this. And you guys deserve everything I deserve that has to do with Mackenzie. First of all, I got a phone call this morning by the prosecutor. He did send a letter this morning. It's been sent to BCI to have a detective come in and take Mackenzie's case. Then I got a phone call from BCI, and I found out some things from BCI. One of the things I found out was they are looking into what the prosecutor asked to why they wanted.
Hold on a second. Do you know what this go live with means?
No.
I'm getting a bunch of these. Go live with Dwight Fox. Go live with Christine Boyce. And then it says go.
Am I live? Is everybody? Can everybody hear me?
Good. Well, you got some. You got 49.
Can somebody give me thumbs up?
Go live with Brent Irvin. I mean, I'm getting a bunch of them.
That's fine.
Okay.
Do you push the button or something?
Let's see what it does. Go live with. They'll receive an invite to join you. I'm getting a bunch of them.
That might be people. Can everybody see me? Can everybody hear what I was saying?
Yeah, they can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So what happened was when BCI contacted me today, they took Mackenzie's letter that came from the prosecutor straight upstairs to the supervisor up there in BCI. Now, with BCI is they'll sit down, they'll look at everything, they'll see if there's enough there to reopen it, and on that note, they will let Jesse Weed and talk to Jesse Weed of why we're inviting BCI detectives in to take Mackenzie's case. Now, the only other thing on this is they've got to find a detective that has the time to pull off of another case and put them on Mackenzie's case and start with Mackenzie's case. The only downfall, and it's hard for me to say this, is that I told the lady at BCI that I don't want them to pull a detective off of another cold case because I look at it this way, that's another family that's probably going through the same thing I'm going through and wants answers just as much as I do. And I don't want to take that away from somebody else with Mackenzie. So it could take a little time.
You got a bunch of them saying you're cutting out. Did you get on the Wi-Fi? Well, it's on the Wi-Fi. It's cutting out now for me. Yeah, a bunch of them saying it's cutting out.
The weather. Can somebody let me know if everything's fine? Can you hear me?
Sorry, man. A bunch of them were saying I didn't know what you wanted to do. There's a bunch saying good too, so.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And so that's one of the things about a situation like I said, I had to make a decision today, and that was, like I said, I don't want them to pull a detective off of somebody else's family and deal with my daughters. So it might take a little time before, somebody will actually start going into this full blast with Mackenzie. And that's just respect for somebody else that has a detective working on their case. So right now as it stands, we did send the request, was sent today, this morning. Everything was filled out properly and it was sent to BCI. It was taken up to the BCI supervisor and the detective. But what I also found out was, which was pretty, kind of pissed me off, was I found out that Vernon Stanford closed the case at BCI when BCI was involved once before. And he closed it. He closed it, they didn't. So that puts me back to why Vernon is doing what he's doing. Also found out that Vernon Stanford, I can't receive certain things on my daughter's case as long as the case is open. So it's closed everywhere else. Vernon's made sure he's closed the case everywhere else. But he's leaving it open in Fayette County. And we all know by what I've already discussed and talked about on other live feeds, they ain't even talked to witnesses. They haven't done nothing. So my daughter's case is sitting there not going nowhere. No one's even done anything except for the exhuming, which that was done because the prosecutor and the coroner, Dr. Mesker, requested that to be done because of my request. So why Vernon's keeping it open, I know why. Because as long as it's open in this county, nobody can come in and touch this case unless the sheriff invites them in. So my job now is I've got to shut down Vernon Stanford. And that's my next thing, is I'm going to go as high as I can go to try to shut him down so that my case will be closed here so it can be reopened in another county. Now the prosecutor has that right too, and he's trying to do the same thing. So like I said, the hardest thing was I got the letter today from Montgomery County that I wanted to share with everybody. And it took me a couple hours before I was able to open it up and read it, because I knew what was in there, some of what was in that, in these papers here. And the hardest thing I found is there's some other things that were destroyed. And I didn't know that until I got the paperwork. And I just want to show everybody the letter I got so everybody knows that this is a legal document. This is no, somebody made up or anything like that. So I'm going to show an actual legal document, where it came from and everything. It is from Montgomery County. It is actually from the coroner that actually did the autopsy, the first autopsy, and he's also the one that did the autopsy on Mackenzie from the exhume. And it starts here, and her height, she was 50 inches tall. Her weight was 64 pounds. They did a pathologist, they did a tech body, they did a tech head, and then they did fingerprints. And in the part with the fingerprints, they noted that not available. Prints for the child unavailable due to burns on her hands. And I'll show everybody this. And it also says, down here it puts clothing. She came in panties, a t-shirt, and 2 pairs of socks. So I just want everybody to see this document I was just reading to everybody. Of what they did, what kind of tests they did and everything on her. And the next one, it states here, and what this is this is timesheets. And what this is, it says Fayette County at the top, Montgomery County Coroner's Office, Morgue Office Records. And it says right here, statement of condition of the body of Mackenzie Branham, white, female, 8 years old. She was taken to, the body was received on April 27th, which is the day that she was murdered. She arrived at their facility at 5:33 in the morning. The funeral home was called at 12:39. So my daughter sat there from 5:33 to 12:39. Nothing being done yet. They called the funeral home. They picked her up. The funeral home picked her up at 2:11 in the afternoon on the 27th. And I want everybody to see that. And when she came in, the following articles were received with the deceased body: was clothing, 2 white metal earrings, and then there's a sign signed by it was received by, and the funeral home, Morrow's Funeral Home. And this is that document, and there's the times that Mackenzie arrived. They called Morrow's Funeral Home, and then she left. They picked her up at 2:11. The next document I'll show you here, it says Fayette County, Montgomery County Coroner's Office Morgue Record. This is a timestamp one too. She was picked up at 2:11, and Morrow's Funeral Home was called, and she was brought back to Montgomery County at 5:24 in the evening on the 27th. They picked her up at 2:11 on the 27th. And then the funeral home re-picked her up on the 28th. They released her back to Morrow's Funeral Home. They picked her up at 9:58 on the 28th. And this is that time stamp. Right here's the times up here. And then what she came in with, which she came in with clothing. And she still had her clothes on, but they removed her earrings. She didn't come back with those. So the next one is a hard one to read. And what this is this is an evidence sheet. An evidence sheet means that's what they collected and was evidence. This is the stuff that sat for 6 years. And what they had collected was description of evidence, is one sealed envelope containing oral, rectal, vaginal swabs. That is where I was talking about, where they had the DNA that was potential DNA, that they had a small amount, and that it laid there for 6 years, and now they no longer could use it. And that to me is pretty upsetting, that they had this evidence and they waited 6 years before they even knew that this evidence was here. And like I said, it was actually printed on an evidence sheet, and it was received from, and then they had the doctor's name that they received it, and then received by. And then it says over here, Montgomery BRCL is the place, and it was May 9th, 06 at 1:10. And if you remember when I played the Coroners tape where me and him talked on the phone, this is the stuff he was talking about. He just didn't exactly say what kind of DNA it was. And by now with this evidence sheet, I know what kind of DNA it was. So I want to show everybody where it says evidence sheet and everything. So I would say most likely, and it says recovered at the morgue. It was sealed, yes. It was marked, yes. All this paperwork right here, dates, time stamped. They even had Miami Valley Regional Crime Laboratory. They had it all right here at the top of the letter, everything. I mean, this is what was sitting there for 6 years, and the Fayette County Sheriff, detective and the sheriff never asked about. They never asked 6 years about this DNA. And this right here is the Montgomery County Coroner's Office evidence collection sheet. Has my daughter's name on it, and then it says the swabs of what they swabbed, the hair, they took some hair from her head, clothing, panties, t-shirt, and 2 socks. Now, all this is filled out, and it was done on 4/28/06 at 10:12 a.m. in the morning. And this is what they collected, and this is what they had on another sheet of evidence. This is all evidence. Now this here is an evidence sheet. And this evidence sheet, I'll show everybody real quick before I read everything to everybody. This is the evidence sheet. So now, on the evidence sheet, it says case number, name, Branham Mackenzie, description of evidence, clothing, see notes, all held. Then down here it says recovered by, they gave the person that recovered it. Agency was Montgomery County Coroner's Office. Date and time recovered was 4/28/2006 at 10:12 in the morning. Then below that it says sealed, marked, received from, received by, and where they put received by, destroyed. And then it says date, time received for destroying the clothes was 8/15/2006 at 12 a.m. They were destroyed, which my daughter died April 27th. They collected the evidence of her clothing on 4/28/2006 at 10:12 in the morning, and they turned around and destroyed it the same year, 3 months later at 12 a.m. And I will show everybody that part. This is the evidence sheet. This is where the clothes were destroyed. But if you notice something's missing on this sheet, and what is missing on this sheet is who ordered the clothes to be destroyed from Fayette County. So we go to what they call the chain of custody. Here we got all the paperwork where they collected their evidence. Okay, so then we go down below there and it says description of evidence. Head, hair, plucked. That's where they removed my daughter's hair from her head. Same person recovered it. Same agency, Montgomery County Coroner's Office. Date of recover, 4/28/2006, 10:12 a.m. Received by, destroyed. They destroyed her hair. Evidence, destroyed it. Date of time, they destroyed her hair on 10/6/2006 at 12 o'clock in the morning. So on September the 6th, 2006, they destroyed more evidence. But on the paper, there's nobody's name to who ordered the destroying of this evidence. So now I'm going to show the destroying, and where it says destroyed on this evidence sheet, where it was destroyed, right here is where they destroyed, right here they destroyed. Right here is the evidence they collected and was ordered to be held. And they destroyed it. So, right from the get-go, evidence was being destroyed on my daughter. Not even 6 months into her murder. And we know that the DNA that they had, potential DNA, was no good, so they destroyed it. So they destroyed her hair and they destroyed her clothing. No one wants to answer up to why. Montgomery County don't know why, because there was no paperwork done. In other words, nobody filled out a form and said, this is the reason we're destroying the clothes. This is the reason you can go ahead and destroy her hair. This is the reason you can go ahead and destroy the DNA. So, it goes back to certain people that make comments about, why don't I let the authorities handle my daughter's case? And this is the reason I don't let my authorities handle my daughter's case. This is why I am going to fight this as hard as I can. This is why I am going to shut down Vernon Stanforth. This is why I am going to move this case out of this county. Is because of reasons of this. And because of all these witnesses we have that have never been interviewed. The truck They allowed them to leave in, which was evidence. The ladder, which is no longer confined, and now it's gone. You got, and the ladder, let me explain the ladder. The ladder is a very important piece of this. On my last live feed, I was talking about the lie detector test, and I asked BCI, how could somebody take a lie detector test the same day my daughter died? I have my answer. The answer of that is, Kenny did go in that night, about between the hours of 10 and midnight, and he did take a lie detector test. So, by them doing that so quick, was A, because he lied about using the ladder and going up and busting out her window and trying to save her. That was a bullshit lie. So they knew something was suspicious. Then they also knew it was an arson. So they already knew it was a crime. They already knew there was something wrong with the picture of what would happen that night. Now, if you go back to the article and you go back to the coroner's report, Vernon Stanford said, quote, quote, there's no foul play. But there was foul play. And then on top of the foul play, you already sent somebody in to be questioned and hooked to a lie detector test. So you already knew something was wrong. So now that questions me of why you knew there was an arson that night of the fire. You knew that you already had somebody suspicious of the fire. You sent them in a lie detector test. But then you tell the community there's no foul play and that we haven't yet determined accidental or arson. You're a liar. You're a fucking liar. You knew that night, and that's why you go back to the coroner's report. Your wife gave a statement, Vernon Stanford. So you already knew. You already knew that. So why, my question is, why did my daughter go to Montgomery County as an accident, sent back to Fayette County, took back to Montgomery County, and now it's a homicide? Because I can tell you why. You tried to do everything possibly you could do to screw this fucking case up. And that's a God's honest truth. And I proved it. You are no different than the mom, the boyfriend, and the brother that did everything they could to hesitate from somebody saving my daughter. So I've got two people, or two groups here. I've got a group that hesitated and tried to avoid the fire department and anybody trying to save my baby girl, including witnesses that wanted to save my daughter. Then I've got the sheriff who is trying to do everything he can to close cases, but leave it open here so nobody can come in and take it. You lied to the community. You tampered with evidence. You neglected my daughter and her murder. And negligence is all over the place because A, you didn't wait. You waited 6 years before you asked for something that you knew as a sheriff would not be no good anymore. You prevented witnesses from being talked to, but you went out and you talked to people that had no clue what was going on with the fire, so that you could say, oh, we went and spoke to people, we're talking to people, but they're just going by rumors. So, you know, we're trying to get to them. How about the way you get to the bottom of a case is you start right there from the crime scene. So you prevented the coroner from going into my daughter's room and sealing off her room and collecting the correct evidence he needed to solve this case. And the reason I know this is, one, you told me that he was old and fragile. Dr. Gay died at 53 years old. At the time of my daughter's fire, he was in his 40s. He was not old. He was not fragile. And it only cost $25 to go to Courthouse Tool Rental and rent a cherry picker, which I don't even think they would charge, and take a cherry picker over and lift Dr. Gay up into the window, into the room to collect what he needed. But you allowed a deputy in uniform, you allowed him to allow a suspect that failed the lie detector test twice, who you knew was involved, you allowed that person to go into the room that's a crime scene and collect what he wanted to collect. I don't understand that. Now, I've got Montgomery County that admitted to their errors and what happened with Mackenzie's case. I've got BCI that admitted to my face directly that they dropped the ball. But I told the commissioners yesterday, I've got one agency that hasn't yet admitted their wrongdoing. So, with that said, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm a smart father. I'm a very intelligent father. Because one thing I can say is my kids meant the world to me. And the reason they meant the world to me was because I wanted to be a father. And so I'm going to do your job for you, Vernon, P. Stanford. And I'm going to show the community what a father really does. What a father really does is, in this envelope that was sent to me after my daughter's death from Morrow's funeral home, because I knew something wasn't right from the beginning. And a father, supposedly a mother, would know something ain't right. And unfortunately, I knew something wasn't right. And that was from the heart and from being a father that wanted to be with his children. So I'll do you a favor, Vernon. Since Montgomery County, and you thought it was all right to destroy her hair, I have 15 pieces of her hair. So now I have her hair, and I've had it in this envelope. And this came from her head from the fire. See, this is a smart father. So right here I have my daughter's hair that can be ran for all kinds of tests. So this is what a father does that loves his child so much. So they might be destroyed in 2006 in September. But in 2017, I still have them. And because my daughter's fingerprints were destroyed, they couldn't get her fingerprints because the way my daughter burned. Here's another thing that a father does and why a father loves his children. So here you go, Vernon. I have right here 2 records of my daughter's fingerprints. Right here is 2 sets of fingerprints. And I'll thank the Fayette County Sheriff's Office at the health fair. Because, see, when a father loves his child, he always keeps memories of everything. So here I've got 2 sets of fingerprints. So now we have her fingerprints that we didn't have. Now we have her hair that we had but was destroyed. And I believe by the time this is over with, I'll have the other 2. I won't have actually physical of her clothing, but I will have photos of her clothing. Because thank God to Montgomery County, they did take photographs. So like I said, you can't stop me. You can't prevent me from doing what I'm doing. My daughter means everything to me. She is my world. So once again, with this 8th grade education, how you say it, I'm just a dumb hillbilly. This dumb hillbilly is pretty damn smart. And this dumb hillbilly was pretty good at being a father. While the mother went on with her life, I did the smart thing and got custody of my children. Because I know what it is to watch your child grow and become what you want them to become. And the way they become what they are is by how you raise them. And I think I did a pretty damn good job of raising my kids. So by me keeping memories and thinking like a father, we have now the evidence that you thought was destroyed. So I just want everybody to know this is the reason I fight as hard as I fight. And I guarantee you, because I did take scuba diving lessons in Florida and had my license at one time, guarantee I could probably find somebody with a scuba gear and probably find my daughter's headstone in the Ohio River. You know, so I just want everyone to know that this is what happened to my daughter. This is where they dropped the ball on that little 8-year-old child. I can, like I said, I can say, I can understand if you misplace something, you know, a piece of paper or something. But when you make this many errors, it smells one way and only one way. But you forgot one of the key things to this case. You forgot she has a father that loves her dearly. And you found and you messed with the wrong guy. I'm putting it that way as simple as I can put it. So now that I know what was destroyed, and it's so sad that I can go to one tote and I can open that lid and I can retrieve anything in there that belonged to my daughter, including the duffel bag of 7 outfits that she left at my house before she went back to her mom's after spring break and then was killed. So I even have clothing. I even have her DNA on those clothes. So guess what, Vernon? You lost. You lost because you forgot that you was up against one hell of a father. And this father didn't throw nothing away. This father didn't destroy nothing. So all I can say is I hope that the community understands what I am doing, that they will back me 100%, and that we will shut down Vernon Stanforth and get this case in the proper hands that it belongs in. I believe my daughter deserves justice. And I believe there's enough evidence here and there's enough stuff here to put away the right people that did this. So all I can say is thank you again. I love everybody. I'm sorry that this came sooner than Tuesday when I told everybody I was supposed to receive that, but it's a good thing it did come today. It was hard to open it up and read it because I knew there were certain things in here that me and the coroner discussed, but I didn't know there was other things in here that wasn't discussed with me. And it's sad to know that they had sexual DNA, and I'm not going to say rape because it doesn't say nowhere in here that there was penetration or any of that. So I'm not going to call it that until that's determined. But I do remember somebody made a comment when I first started doing live feed, and they said, they even know, I'll put it this way, they posted it is what they did. They posted it and they said, right here it says her vagina was normal of an 8-year-old. See, that's where I try to tell people, don't put your fingers in the cookie jar when you know nothing about what you're talking about. Yes, my daughter was 8 years old. Yes, her private area was normal of an 8-year-old. It wasn't like she had an infection down there, or she had a disease, or she had one side of it was bigger than the other side. That's what they were talking about. Saying that it's normal, they're just saying that it was normal of an 8-year-old child. This is where they do the actual test. And that's what I went back to the mother, where the mother says, oh, there's only one autopsy report. Well, sweetheart, I hate to tell you, there was more than one autopsy report. And I'm glad you think that, because I know what you were looking for. I know what you were searching for when you got that same toxicology report I got. And I even know in a statement that you made, in one of your statements here, you even stated that that wasn't the right that wasn't the right report. And we're not dumb. People are not dumb. They're not going to actually list everything they find and then hand it to somebody that is a suspect. Then again, I don't know, Fayette County might have. They probably would have handed it to her. I mean, hell, they handed her a sheriff report that I didn't get, and the sheriff report she got showed all the times when people arrived and left and who was there and da-da-da-da, where my report was 2 pages and it was just said arson and homicide. So, the sheriff's office, hell, they could, who knows? Hell, they might have gave the matches, I don't know, that set the fire. But all I can say is, I'm upset because you failed my daughter. You failed her. And you can't even be man enough to admit you failed and that you didn't handle this case the proper way that you should have handled it. Now, people are going to ask me about attorneys. Here's the thing about attorneys, and this is why I have to take this a different route. With an attorney won't touch this case. The reason an attorney won't touch this case is because Vernon Stanford has it as an ongoing case. And in an attorney's mind, they're going to think that, well, if I start this case and then something new comes in, it could hurt what we're trying to do. So that's why, as long as Vernon keeps calling it an open, ongoing investigation, nobody's going to come in here and touch this. So we're hoping with the prosecutor and the letter and BCI will accept it, then it can be moved. Until then, Vernon still has it. So I'm going to do everything I can to prove that the sheriff screwed my daughter's case up. I think I've got enough here, and then taking it to the right people, which is in Columbus, and shutting him down. It's going to take some time, but like I said, I've got all the time in the world, and I've been working on this for 11 years, so what's a few more days? And I think I've done pretty good at what I've got. So like I said, for Vernon, and I know there's people that, call him up and say, oh my God, Donald's, I know that, and I'm glad. I want him to know. I want him to know what I'm doing. Because one thing, I don't have to hide nothing. I ain't got nothing to hide. Community knows and I know the truth. So, even if he is watching this, like I said, I just want you to know that when you're ready, you're more than welcome to come and see what I have. You're more than welcome to, we have the hair now that we can send for testing. We have her fingerprints. And, but always remember, you're messing with a father. You're messing with a father that cares about his kids, cares about this community, cares about the children of this community and the future they have. So with that said, I'm glad everybody, I got to share this with everybody. And one other thing I wanted to share with everybody real quick. I meant to share with everybody. When you're when you're investigating my daughter and her murder, the best thing you could do is make sure you spell her name right. Because you didn't even spell her name right on all these case papers. And you should have known what her name was. But then again, you pronounced her dead, Vernon, not the coroner. You never let me go to the hospital so that I could, you know, pronounce my child and make sure it was my child and was able to spell her name right. So that's one error you made already, is just in her name alone. But then again, it smells fishy. And I'm ready for the fight. I'm ready for the battle. This right here, you don't even understand the strength it just gave me. And like I've said it before, I'm coming to get you. Marianne and Kenny and William, I'm coming to get you. And you better be prepared. Justice will happen, one way or another. And you will go to prison for the rest of your life. And you thought you guys were good. You thought you could destroy stuff. You thought you could get rid of evidence. But like I said, while you as a I don't want to say mother, that's a hard word. As the egg donor, you ran to go have your fun while I went and got my kids and told myself I wanted to be a father and raise my children. So while you was out having fun, I was being a father. And because of me being a father, and the right kind of father, I saved everything. And by me saving everything, I guess it paid off in the long run. No one ever thought Mackenzie would ever be murdered. But there was a reason for why I saved everything. There's a reason why somebody saved the coroner's report that they thought was gone. And so, like I said, I don't want to call it rape until that's proven. So all I can say is, A, it was sexual DNA and that it was destroyed or contaminated, whatever they want to call it. I'm hoping with the exhuming, more DNA comes out of that. It's hurtful that my daughter had to go through this, and she shouldn't have. Honestly, she should have never been exhumed if they would have done their job right the first time. And I wouldn't have to take 10 years of my life away from my friends and family and my children that I have to make sure that my other child, whether she's gone or not, gets justice. All I can say is I wish this on nobody. I hope that this never happens again. That's why I talk about changes and why there should be changes in a town. I think sheriffs shouldn't be a sheriff for 12, 15, 17 years. It should be changed up. And there's a reason behind that. And all I can say is I'm coming stronger than I ever have. I'm prepared for whatever happens. Pretty much I've had death threats, hits on my head, letters sent to me, anonymous letters mailed to me, which is something else. You know, I turned over the letter. Fingerprints were supposed to be ran. Here we are. They told me it would be 45 days the most. here we are going on 90 days. Ain't heard nothing. Not a single peep about the letter. We got 2 tapes that ain't been found, and I don't see how hard it is to find it, because hell, in less than 6 months I found all kinds of stuff, and I didn't even really have to look hard or very far for it. So I don't know why you can't find those 2 tapes, other than you don't want this community to hear the mother tell her 2 stories, and they can hear it right out of her own voice. So eventually you'll do your job. Hopefully you'll go home and look at your children that you have, that you can hold, that you can kiss goodnight, and say, man, you know, I understand what this father is going through. Maybe I need to do my job. And that's what you should think when you're holding your child, because I don't get that no more. I don't get to hold Mackenzie. I don't get to listen to her stories. I don't get to kneel down beside her bed and say her favorite prayer with her. I miss out on all that. So hopefully tonight, Ryan McFarland, the detective, and Vernon Stanford will go home, and while they're looking at their grandchildren or their children or their baby, and they're kissing them goodnight and telling them they love them and wrapping their arms around them, maybe they'll think why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I feel the way I feel. But before you do that, you have to say to yourself that you're a father, because that's what a father does. A father makes sure that everything that their children do is important in their life. And that's what a mother should do too. Unfortunately, Mackenzie didn't have one. So, with that said and everything, I just want to tell everybody thank you. I love you guys. I'm sorry that you guys have to hear the news that I have to hear, but you guys deserve it as much as I do, because Mackenzie knows you're fighting with me as hard to get justice for her. We'll get to the bottom of this, I promise. I promise, with till I take my last breath. And I'm hoping that this is solved before that happens. But if it does, that somebody will pick up where I left off and keep fighting for that baby girl. And because that's what she wants. She wants us to fight for her. So with that said, I love everybody. And just do me one favor. Get a chance, go in there and hug your babies. Give them a kiss. Tell them you love them. And you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. And sit down and call yourself a mother and a father. Because I know there's a lot of you out there, because you follow Mackenzie's story and you fight right beside me as hard as I fight for her. And those are parents. Those are true parents. Those are parents that care. And like I said, get a chance. If you never said a prayer, say a prayer for your children. Let them know you love them. And always remember, everything your child makes for you, every time your child calls your name and you say, oh man, I wish they'd quit calling my name, remember that there's something they're wanting to tell you, and you might miss out on that. And that's a hard thing to miss out and sit back and blame yourself and say, man, if I'd have just took 2 minutes away from the TV when my kid was yelling for me, I could have heard what they had to say to me. So with that said, just do me a favor and say a prayer with your kids tonight. Give them a kiss, hug them, tell them you love them. And always save everything they make, everything they do. You never know what's going to happen in the future. And I'm just proud that I became a father and that I saved everything. And Mackenzie, there was a reason she came to me, and there's a reason she wanted me to do this. And she wanted me to fight for her because she knew I had the answers. And and she knew I won't give up on her. And I won't give up on the community or other children in this community. So I love everybody. You guys have a good night. Thank you for watching. And we'll get this. Love you guys.